Hello everyone, welcome to another installment of the 33%. I'm Ruff, and I was trying to decide what kind of video I want to make an extra video this week. Usually I only make one on Monday, or upload it Monday or Sunday, and I wanted to have an extra one. The other night when we was doing the auction, there was a big, not really a debate, but there was a lot of talk about the movies, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and who owns rights to what properties, and there was a lot of misconceptions about what was actually happening or what actually had went on and stuff. So if you look below me, it's a legend of all the different studios that own Marvel properties, and if you look to this side over here in just a little while, as I come to them, I'll have them scroll up. But first, I'm going to give you a rundown of a list of the films based on Marvel characters. First, a lot of people, there's some misconception about this one. A lot of people think the first Marvel film was Howard the Duck. Actually, in 1944, there was a 15-chapter serial film about Captain America. At the time, it was Timely Comics, so it's technically not a Marvel film, but Captain America is one of the characters that is in Marvel Comics now, so technically it would be the first Marvel film. That was followed by Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck was released, the production studio was Universal Pictures, and George Lucas helped a lot on the production of it. As everybody knows, it was a pretty terrible flop. In later years, it come to be kind of a cult movie. A lot of people who like the comic books and stuff enjoy the movie, and the movie's okay. It's really good for the time. 1989, there was The Punisher. It was a direct-to-video in U.S. and there's limited theatrical release internationally. It was on New World Pictures. In 1990, there was Captain America by 21st Century Film. It was a direct-to-video in the U.S. with limited theatrical releases internationally. In 1994, the Fantastic Four film by Constantine Films, and it was never released. Constantine Films is a big part of what we're going to talk about here in a little while. That was followed in 1998 by Blade, 2000 X-Men by 20th Century Fox and New Line Cinemas respectively, Blade 2 by New Line Cinemas, Spider-Man by Columbia Pictures, Daredevil, X2 and the Hulk was all released in 2003. The Punisher, Spider-Man 2 and the Blade Trinity was released in 2004. Elektra was released along with Fantastic Four and X-Men The Last Stand in 2005 and 2006. Ghost Rider, Spider-Man 3, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer was released in 2007. Now, all of this predates the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Marvel Cinematic Universe was started with Iron Man in 2008, and it was released by Marvel Studios, but it was distributed by Paramount Pictures. Iron Man was. Incredible Hulk was released by Marvel Studios, but was distributed by Universal Pictures. And I'll get into what the distribution matters later on, because that's the last Hulk film, was the Incredible Hulk as a solo film, and it was distributed by Universal. Punisher Warzone was also released that year, and it was produced under the Marvel Knights banner. It was distributed by Lionsgate Film in the U.S. and Canada, and Columbia Pictures in other territories. There was also the first try at making a shared, or the first conception, I think, of making a shared universe movie was Man-Thing in 2005. They made a Man-Thing movie. A lot of people don't even know it exists. It got terrible. It didn't do well, and it's not a terrible movie. I own a copy of it, but it didn't do real well in theaters. It wasn't very well received by critics. It's not terrible, but it's not the best movie. And I'm not going to go into all these movies and the ratings and stuff. That'd be a Talking Nerdy with Ruff episode, but this is more towards who owns what. But that was supposed to be, Man-Thing was supposed to be the first of 15, I believe, movies in a shared universe, and it didn't really take off. And I think Punisher Warzone was part of a way to kind of rectify the situation with Lionsgate's film. It's a Marvel movie, but they used the Marvel Knights banner. Anyways, 2009, X-Men Origins Wolverine, 2010, Iron Man 2, and Thor. Paramount Pictures was the distributor for Marvel Cinemas Marvel Cinematic Universe before Disney bought them out. X-Men First Class, Captain America, First Avenger, Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance, and it's not Spirit of Vengeance is not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Avengers was Walt Disney starts distributing Marvel Studio Films. That's after they had bought it and took over. The Amazing Spider-Man, Columbia Pictures again. Iron Man 3, The Wolverine, 20th Century Fox. Thor Dark World, Captain America, Winter Soldier. Amazing Spider-Man 2, X-Men Days of Future Past, Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, Ant-Man. All those are, of course, Disney. Fantastic Four was distributed by 20th Century Fox. Deadpool, Captain America Civil War, X-Men Apocalypse, 20th Century Fox. Logan, 20th Century Fox. Doctor Strange, Marvel Studios. Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel Studios. Spider-Man Homecoming, Columbia Pictures, Marvel Studios. Distributed by Sony. Sony's another part of it because the distribution. I'm almost done. Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Avengers, Infinity War, and Deadpool 2 by 20th Century Fox. Alright, so I'm going to start at the top with Marvel Studios. And what Marvel Studios owns is, I got it coming up right over here in just a second, the Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Inhumans, the Titans, and everything else. Pretty much any character now at this point in the Marvel comics that's not these next few is owned by Marvel Studios. Disney owns them, and I matched the color with the legend below, so maybe that'll make it a little easier. There's not really a video like this, and it's really hard to figure out all this. It's not you can't just go to a website and there's a list. There are lists, but they're not comprehensive, and they're old or they're new, and they're saying, well, when Disney buys Fox, which may not happen, Comcast has put in a cash bid that's pretty high, which really will benefit none of the fans, but it'd be really good for Comcast. Followed, and of course everybody knows Marvel is trying to buy 20th Century Fox. 20th Century Fox owns, this is a big one, but not as big as the next one, Mutants. They own all the mutants. And how some people will be like, well, you know, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were in Avengers. They was. They own, because the way it was broke up, Marvel still had the rights to the Avengers and characters who had always been in the Avengers. 20th Century Fox owns the rights to mutants. So they've got X-Men, Deadpool, all the X teams, which is a ton. New Mutants, Alpha Flight. I'd really like to see an Alpha Flight movie. And they could use the characters, but they couldn't be mutants. That's why there's two sets of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the movies, because they're owned by Marvel and they're kind of partially owned. And that's this one. This next one here is Constantin Films. And what Constantin Films is, their big movie is, I think The Never-Ending Story is like their really big hit movie, like the most well known. But in the early 90s, it may have been the late 80s, Marvel made a deal with Constantin Films to make Fantastic Four movies, and they could continue to make Fantastic Four movies as long as Fantastic Four movies was coming out. And that's where the 1994 movie that never was, as long as the movies are made, is how the paperwork reads. And all this, there's a lot of legal jargon and stuff tied into it. It's really complicated, and this is not like this. This is not for some law professor to dissect. This is just for somebody to have a basic knowledge and understanding of who owns what and why, or who did and what's going on. So with the Fantastic Four and like the mutants and the Avengers and the ones coming up, when they got, like say they got Fantastic Fours, they also get villains that are inherently the Fantastic Fours. And there was a divide over the years. I don't know how they worked it out. I'm sure somewhere, like I was saying, there's not a website. Somewhere somebody has got an email explaining all this in depth, every bit of it. Like this, it's probably a few pages, but it'd be something that would be awesome to have if you was trying to look it up. But these two right here, the Fantastic Four and the Mutants, that's a huge deal to Marvel, because those two, while the Avengers are popular and have always been somewhat popular, the X-Men and the Fantastic Four was considered Marvel's first family for years. Spider-Man's obviously their like flagship character, but those two are really big deals. And the Skrulls, the bad guys, is a huge deal too, because where they could make movies without the characters, the main heroes, it's hard to make villains that are on such, because those are three pretty big deals right there. Fantastic Skrulls, Galactus, and Doctor Doom. Those are huge villains in the Marvel comic book universe, and going forward will be, I'm sure, in the cinematic universe. But Constantine Films signed a distribution deal where 20th Century Fox had the they get the lion's share of the profits for the Fantastic Four movies, but they still maintain the rights. Now, with that being said, if the Disney 20th Century Fox deal goes through, from what I've read, not everything I've read because there's conflicting views, but there's more that says I'm right than I'm wrong, that the Fantastic Four and Constantine Films will come with it. So I imagine they'll just buy Constantine Films out of those rights, or buy 20th Century Fox's distributing rights out, then buy Constantine Films rights out. Or else they'll do a shared thing like our next one. Y'all ready for this guy? The Incredible Hulk. Namor, She-Hulk, General Ross. Those was the three bigger ones besides the Hulk. Namor is a big deal, but it's also been said that Namor now resides with Marvel Studios, and the Hulk has been in Marvel movies, but the Hulk hasn't had a solo film. Some people chalk that up to it his storyline's not warranting a solo film, but that's not true, because they could just as easily make a Hulk solo film as they could a Thor with other characters in it. You know, they're all in each other's movies now, Doctor Strange and Thor Ragnarok, and Hulk as well in Thor Ragnarok. So they could just as easily make Hulk. What I believe has went on is the same deal that they done with Spider-Man, and they can use them, but Universal still gets part of the profits from it. Now, whether that be a share of ticket sales, a share of DVD sales, that I don't know, but I'm just about positive that is what's happening. Then next, we've got Spider-Man, who's owned by Sony. It was originally by, where'd that one go? Columbia Pictures, but Sony, I don't know if Sony bought Columbia Pictures or what. It's now owned by Sony, and they've got Spider-Man, Venom, Carnage, the Black Cat, and Sinister Six, along with a whole bevy of villains. And what they've done with that is Spider-Man exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're not sure at this point if Venom will or won't. The Venom film's not a Marvel. They're all Marvel films. It's not an MCU film, but it could be in the universe as Marvel. So, yeah, we'll see about that. And I hope this is helpful to people. You know, I know, like I said, there was a lot of questions, and no, you're not right, this is right, and this is actually what's going on in the Hulk thing. They've said that every few years it'll come up again why they hadn't made a solo Hulk film. And I read an interview with I think it was Feig. It was with one of the higher ups in Marvel, and he said something to that effect, but I couldn't find it today. But trying to find this information is like pulling teeth. It's not, like I said, it's not one website. This is a compilation of about 12 different websites in the list. It was not a easy to go to get. You couldn't just get a comprehensive list. Now, there will be problems going forward with past movies, and that can either be retconned where they fit in an alternate timeline, and now those characters are in the cinematic universe timeline, or they can be retconned where it's part of it. You know, they could really do a lot of things because they do in comics. I mean, they can realistically do what they want. There's artifacts like the Infinity Gauntlet, and that's what I hope they do. I hope that we come out of Infinity War and go into whatever the next Avengers movie is, and by the time we come out of it, all these characters are part of that universe. Because then, going forward, a lot of people's gripes with comic book movies, which have got lesser over the years, like Infinity Gauntlet was a great movie. I mean, and it wasn't spot on for the book, but it was pretty good for the storyline. I mean, it was pretty close. Some of the characters was interchanged. And I think that Adam Warlock's with Fantastic Four. I think that's one of the problems with why he wasn't in the last one. I feel like he's tied up with the cosmic groups that the Fantastic Four usually face, and he's a hero that they just got along with him. And I'm sure if they could have got him out of it, there's no doubt in my mind that they would have. They would have used him in some form. Any of this they could have got out, they would have over the years. Disney's got a team of lawyers that's way smarter than me or most of the people who are wondering about this, you know. And that's not a slight on anyone's intelligence. It's just, you know, they've got people who are trying to pick these apart for a living. Now, I hope going forward that Disney does get everything together, and they are the Marvel Cinematic Universe rests with Disney, because I feel like it will be in good hands. I don't feel like there will be any. It won't be this that we've got now. This whole motley crew of, you know, this is a good movie, but this one's not a good movie, and this one don't really fit with this one. Because going forward, Disney will make sure they all fit together. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna sign off here, upload this to the YouTube, and I'm gonna name this a Quest for Clarity, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If y'all have any questions or anything about any of this, just shoot me a message on Facebook, and as always, you know, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Have a good one.